Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Oneness Junkie podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, a self-proclaimed Oneness Junkie. Oneness Junkie is a place to be inspired, encouraged, and supported. Learn from the individuals who are working to make the world a better place. Let's meet today's guest. Hi, everybody. It's Lydia with the Oneness Junkie podcast and YouTube channel. Tonight, I have a very special guest. We've got Reginald Adams. Hi, Reggie.
Good evening.
How's it going, Reg?
Oh, things are going well. How about yourself, Lydia? Thanks for inviting me on the program.
Yes, well, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to dig deeper into letting the audience know why I have you on the program today, because it's going to be exciting to get to know you better. So a lot of you who listen to previous podcasts know that I like to start off by telling the audience whether I know the guest or not. And I mean, if I know them, I usually go into a story about how I know them. But in this case, I don't know Reg, and somebody had referred him for me to look out in to find out if it was a possibility to do an interview with him. And I reached out to him and he said yes. And I basically let him know that I like to highlight people who are making the world a better place. And he fit into that category. And he said yes. So here we are. We get to meet Reg online.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. And when I read, just the concept of oneness, it's very much in alignment to how I feel about, my approach towards public art. A lot of my friends know me through the work that I do in the community through murals. And I'd like to say I put the public in public art because I'm very much about engaging people in the creation of that work. And it's really in that spirit of oneness that we're all really connected through one form or another, really through our humanness and our spirituality. And so I resonated with your message. And when you reached out for an invitation to come and share a little bit of what I do with your audience, it was a perfect fit. So thank you for creating the platform for folks like myself.
Yeah. And you know what? I love it because it's so neat for me to get to know people and see I really want to just highlight all the people who are out there spending their time and talents to make the world a more positive, compassionate, better place. And it just is a lot of fun. So it's great to meet you. So will you do us the honors and give us a little background about where you came from, or, how you kind of molded into the opportunity that you've done for your career, and tell us a little bit about that career. And then we'll go into a deeper dive about the spiritual connection.
Sure. Well, first of all, my name is Reginald Adams. And for those that are just, generally curious about what I do as an artist, as a creative, you can visit my website, which is www.reginaldadams.com. And there you'll see really 30 years of my professional career kind of played out through a variety of different public art installations. I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming. My dad was in he worked for the government for most of his career. And so because of his job occupation, we moved around quite a bit. So much of my upbringing was really in the Southwest. And we lived in California, New Mexico, and Arizona. Arizona, graduated high school, moved to Texas in the early 90s, and really came to Houston to build a career in the arts. I'd like to say I was the little boy who loved to draw, who never grew up. From a very, very early age, I remembered my passion and my desire to want to create, to want to use what I felt was a kind of a God-given talent, which was to pretty much draw whatever I saw, or draw whatever was in my imagination. And thanks to the support of my family, I was able to build a career off of that. I can recall early experiences where I would draw on the walls of my bedroom. And while, probably many parents would chastise their kids for doing so, my parents really took it easy on me, and they, in a way, encouraged it. And now I can look back on that experience as really a transferable skill where I was allowed to draw on the walls of my bedroom. Now I'm allowed to draw on the walls of my community. And I feel very comfortable using the community as a canvas, as an open space to kind of share and discuss things that are important to me. And so that's kind of my early evolution as an artist. When I got to Houston, I really was clear that I wanted to live off my creativity. And so for the better part of the first 20 years of my career in Houston, I just spent a lot of time working with a lot of schools and youth organizations and community-based groups to bring art and creativity to kids who otherwise weren't going to get access in more of the traditional settings. And it was in 2014 that I had an opportunity to really tap into what I now understand is my alignment between my creativity and my spirituality and my passion for community-based work.
Did you have a religious upbringing or background, or are you still in any kind of a religion? Or are you more spiritual?
Yeah, no, I fully embrace my spirituality. I mean, I clearly and am confident that I'm a spirit that is residing in a highly artistic human body.
Yeah.
And I see myself from that perspective of spirit even before the human, because I believe that's what continues on. I do believe that our lives are eternal, and that after this manifestation of this life that I'll call Reginald Adams is gone, that the spirit continues. And it's been an evolution of my own, understanding of religion and faith and spirituality that's brought me to this perspective now. But I did grow up in a very, very religious household where my father, he was one of those very devout Baptist followers where, 3-4 times a week you're in the church, Bible school, choir rehearsal, Sunday school, church.
Potlucks.
Yes. And then my mother got very involved in the Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it gave me two very unique perspectives. But I can even remember then, Lydia, where I just had a lot of questions. I was just curious about some of the stories and the things that were being told that as a curious kid, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't add up. And while I had a profound imagination, I was also a very practical kid where it's like, if you told me something and you couldn't make it make sense, it was hard for me to just believe that because you told me so, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things around religion that kind of fell into that basket where it's like, please explain that to me. Help me understand how some of these things took place or occurred. And a lot of times it was dismissed with, well, that's what the Bible says, or that's what God told us, or that's what the pastor, or that's what some kind of other authoritative body stated, but it didn't necessarily click or make sense in my own thinking. And I ended up studying and really just researching and reading all types of religious texts. And for about a good 10-year period, I kind of just disattached myself away from any one religion and opened myself up to kind of understand, respect, and appreciate what was at the root of all religions, and what were the elements of all of these different perspectives around godliness and commandments and faith and traditions and practice that started to then help me form my belief and respect for the guiding forces of the things that really keep us connected as humans. And they were not necessarily rooted in one particular religion, but more so in what makes us human beings and what makes us connect with each other, despite where we were born, or despite whatever faith we may have been raised around, or despite what religion we may have been groomed to believe. And now that's a lot of what my practice is kind of rooted in, is that connectivity to make, the oneness as your podcast, anchors itself around. So yes, I had a deep and very connected relationship to religion. And I began to kind of deconstruct that to build the faith that I have now around creativity and spirituality.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, as you were speaking, we have a lot in common. I grew up Baptist here in Houston. By the way, I'm a native Houstonian, went to Bel Air High School and, off to Texas A&M. I mean, I just did a really, general life. And I've been here, but like this, I had the same feelings about like the story of Noah's Ark. Like that never really made a lot of sense. Like if all the animals. Yeah. Well, not only that, but I was thinking if he brought his family and, a few others, like how did they make new baby? I mean, if Adam and Eve were our beginning origins, then how did we make new people from wiping out the earth with a flood? None of that, and how did he get all those animals together, lions and tigers and bears,
The lions went on a long diet.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then there was nothing, right? So anyway, so thanks for saying that, because you actually articulated, kind of some things that I've never put into words like that, but that's how I felt, like it just didn't add up. And so I'm a very practical person as well. So before we go into the spiritual stuff, I want to know, can you give us some spots that for anyone who might be in Houston? Is most of your artwork in Houston? I'd like to know where I might have seen anything that you've done.
Yeah, the majority, Houston's been home for me for now 30 years, 3 decades. I've called Houston home, and I'd share probably the most popular work. It's not necessarily in Houston, it's in Galveston, which is just about 45 minutes away from Houston, right on the coast. And 2 years ago, 2021, we were, so I have a company that produces public art, and my company was commissioned to paint a mural honoring Juneteenth, prior to Juneteenth becoming a national holiday. And the location for the mural, which is at 22nd and Strand, which is right in the downtown area of Galveston, was ground zero for this historical occasion. This is where the official documents were signed and proclamations were made 150 plus years ago. And so it was a really unique experience to be commissioned to paint a mural of such historical significance at the place of origin. And then, as life would have it, 3 days prior to the dedication of the mural, the president announced this official holiday. And so it just...
Oh, and y'all didn't know that y'all didn't know it was coming?
No, no one knew. I mean, the mural was commissioned, say, in September of 2020, and no one, I don't think anybody on the commission... Even
the people who commissioned it had no clue. That's amazing.
Exactly. And
what an alignment of the stars.
And that's been essentially, the narrative of my creative journey is this alignment. It's like I'm following this path that I couldn't have orchestrated. I don't think no one, if would have said, hey, in September, I was like, hey, by the way, in 6 months from now, this is going to be a national holiday. People are like, no way, man, it's never going to happen. Because there have been people who have they've been working on behalf of this becoming a holiday for decades. And there was no real movement towards it until this moment took place. And it just essentially, it blew the project up. It amplified the project in so many ways. And because Galveston is the birthplace of Juneteenth, and because the mural was, so large, it was 5,000 square feet, and it covered such a long trajectory of time, and there was so many elements tied into the project, it became the face of the holiday. And it has been a huge boon to my public artwork, but it also has just taken me deeper into using art to tell the stories of these unsung heroes and unsung moments in American history. And I've just been working towards, continuing taking that moment and now looking at this narrative in other cities. What does freedom and emancipation look like through the eyes of public art across America? And so out of that Juneteenth mural in Galveston, we've now developed a campaign where we're going to cities across the country, talking to the historians in those local geographies and identifying with artists and painting our own stories of freedom, and emancipation. And it's called absolute equality, which was a key word that was written in some of that initial text in 1865. And so to your question, backing up, the Juneteenth mural is probably one of the more known projects, certainly one of the higher profile. But there's a sister to that project that we have in a neighborhood called the Third Ward. And at Emancipation Park, which is one of the oldest municipal parks in the state of Texas, just a year prior, we were commissioned to create 4 mosaic statues that commemorate the 4 founders of that park. And it's an interesting connection because out of Juneteenth in 1865, 5 years later, these 4 men put together $1,000 and bought 10 acres of land so that their families could celebrate Juneteenth. Now, this was 150 years ago. And so, again, it's part of that alignment. I didn't know the connection when I was asked to be the artist of record of this mosaic project. And lo and behold, these 2 projects are very much kindred spirits to each other. And so that's one mosaic sculpture that's publicly accessible, not too far from that community at the University of Houston at the Graduate College of Social Work. We recently completed a 1,000 square foot mosaic mural inside the Graduate College that highlights really the mission of the school and its work towards social justice, economic equality, racial equity, et cetera. And then we have really hundreds of projects, Lydia, across Houston, where we've worked with community groups, children, the young at heart, and painted murals, mosaic sculptures, labyrinth projects, and a host of other just really kind of community-driven art installations that really embrace allowing the public to be a part of these creative, site-specific experiences and activations.
Yeah. So before we got recording, you were telling me about the labyrinths that you were doing. So let's go into that because that's kind of a spiritual, meditative type,
absolutely,
installation.
Well, it was in 2014 where I was working with a program called Sacred Sites Quest. And through Sacred Sites Quest, or I'll call it SSQ for short, we were recruiting Houston area high school students. And we would get up to 36 students from all over the city. And they would meet with us once a month for 3 to 4 hours where we would take them to visit sacred spaces around the city of Houston. And we would spend that Saturday morning visiting, reflecting, journalizing, sharing ideas around what these various cultural sacred spaces meant to us. And it was really unique to hear from young people what this meant for them to see, visit, engage, sometimes even witness worship of cultures other than what they may have grown up with. And so at the culmination of a semester of tours, so between September and December, we would visit between 12 to 15 different sacred spaces. In the spring semester, they would come into my studio and collectively download their learning journey, and we would create a public art project. And it was in 2014 where we were invited to create an installation on a vacant lot in the 4th Ward, or Freedmanstown, just west of downtown Houston. And that year we had decided to create a labyrinth. And it was the first time I'd ever built a labyrinth. So the students designed it. We collaborated. It was on a vacant property that was once the home of a historic Baptist church, Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church. So it was really about revisiting the sacredness of that initial space by bringing this walking archetype, this meditational archetype. And so the project was successful in every sense of the word, and went on to spawn a series of international labyrinth builds where we worked with those same students and new students to build a labyrinth in France. We ended up building a labyrinth in Ecuador on the equator. We ended up building a labyrinth in South Africa, several labyrinths in Mexico, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, and a labyrinth in Ireland, and a labyrinth in Italy, through the same type of visit sacred spaces, learn about the culture, the community, and then leave a capstone project in the form of a labyrinth for these host communities.
It's like a gift too, right? It's a total gift. Wait, I love Italy and I speak Italian. Where in Italy did you put it?
Pesaro, Italy is a beachfront town. It is the home of Giancarlo Rossini, who's a well-known opera singer, and the Houston Grand Opera commissioned this collaboration where we created a labyrinth in a park in Pesaro, but that was all preceded by a tour of Italy. We went to Florence and Rome and Milan, where we finally spent the last 5 days in Pesaro, where we built the labyrinth and a light labyrinth activation that was part of the Rossini Opera Festival in 2018. And so if you can imagine being there with high school kids and being a kid at heart, this was like a dream come true for me.
Had you ever been to Italy before? Was this your first?
No, I had been to Italy twice prior, but this was the first time where I was able to work and leave, my thumbprint on the country. And so it was a very special experience. And to see these young people be able to see, take their ideas out of Houston and bring it to a foreign country and leave this legacy was such a powerful and transformational experience that's only spawned me to continue with this type of work.
That is so cool. I had no idea. And also they can go back in 10 years and visit it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the media that you're using? We can just use the Italian example. Like, is it plants or like, how are you building the labyrinth?
Well, in Italy, we built two. We built a temporary light labyrinth where we created a labyrinth using LED tea lights. It was part of a one-night open festival celebration that was on a big plaza in the main town center of Pesaro. And then we built a permanent labyrinth in a park using pavers that were inlaid into the grass, into the lawn. And so that labyrinth, if maintained, will be there for a very long time. And as you preluded earlier, it's an experience where the kids, if they were able to travel back to Pesaro, they could go and take their family or their friends or, perhaps their loved ones to say, hey, this is something I created when I was a teenager, which is very special because not many people can say that,
Yeah. And to give the audience a perspective, like you said, it was a coastal town. I'm assuming it's the east side or the west side of the coast. And is it above Rome and south of Florence?
It's an hour south of Bologna. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. But is it on the east side, like the Turkey, Greece side, or is it on the Spain side?
I would have to look at the map.
Okay.
I don't know my geography well enough to.
That's fine. I was curious because I'm going to go back to Italy, and that would be something fun to go see and take, do some social media posts about it.
It's a beautiful, little, charming seaside city, and I'd never heard of Pesaro before until this opportunity, and it was only because of the Rossini Opera Festival that it linked up. So the Houston Grand Opera says, hey, Reginald, we want to commission you to do something with some kids in Houston. Can you guys, go somewhere in Italy? And things just lined up to where we ended up in Pesaro, which is the home of this international opera festival. And so I couldn't have, again, orchestrated any of those things, but it was perfect alignment to what needed to happen. And so, yes, if you are heading back to Italy and you can make a stop in Pesaro, there's the Central Park, which is kind of, oh my God, I'll have to send you the information. But
I'm sure I could say dove es el labyrinth or whatever. They know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes,
if it's so small, such a small town, you made a footprint for sure.
They'll know for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
And I can always send you the details as well.
Yeah, so it'll be like a year or so. So I'm sure I can get that information. What I was going to ask you is, what are you working on now? And is there anything that you want to leave in this conversation to impress upon a message, maybe to inspire others, as we wrap up the conversation in the next 5 to 10 minutes?
Well, it's a great segue for what we are working on now. We're preparing to take a group of students to India next summer to build a labyrinth with a school in India near Pune. And so through the same kind of process, we're recruiting the students literally as we speak. And next summer, we'll be traveling with those students. But leading up to that, we have a wonderful opportunity, again, with the Houston Grand Opera, where I will build 5 temporary light labyrinth activations for the opening of the next 5 operas between October and May of next year. And all of that information as far as the openings for those operas will be on the Houston Grand Opera's website, as well as my site, reginaldadams.com. And then we just have a host. I mean, we just finished 3 murals for the Houston Rockets at the Toyota Center. We have a new mural that's happening at the Intercontinental Airport, Mosaic Project. We just finished some utility box public art projects in the West Chase District a week ago. I have a series of sound baths where I'll be working with sound bath instruments coming up here Wednesday at Emancipation Park, doing a wellness festival next Saturday with sound bath demonstrations. So
where is that? Where's the wellness festival?
The wellness event's going to be at Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is downtown. There's information on my social media, which is Reginald Adams on Facebook, as well as my Instagram, reginald.adams on Instagram, where I'll be providing a sound bath demonstration during a wellness and a mental health wellness fair between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. next Saturday.
What's the date? Do you know the actual
September? I believe it's September 24th.
Okay. Is anyone invited, or is that only for Big Brothers?
No. It's open to the public. Big Brothers Big Sisters is simply the location.
Okay.
And all of the event details are in my social media contacts, which can also be found on my website, reginaldadams.com. But as you can imagine, I'm having a lot of fun. To your question, I would tell anybody, I am that child who never grew up, and I've been very focused on like following what has been in my heart, and that is to create. I love people, so I love to share, and I've learned how to create an economy around my creativity, and now I'm seeing clearly how my creativity and my spirituality are aligned with each other to allow me to live out my dreams. And so I'd say to anyone, we all have these dreams of like what we want and what fulfills us. And I'm a living testament to what happens when you follow that dream. And so I think there's nothing really special about me other than I've been very focused on keeping that dream alive and keeping that dream in front of me. And I believe where our attention goes, grows. And I've watched my attention grow an entire business and lifestyle around passion around creativity, a passion around my spirituality and connecting with others. And it's brought me to your platform. So I'm thankful for this opportunity to just share a little bit of my journey on my spiritual path.
Yeah, well, I know my audience is just going to love it because this is exactly you are the epitome of the intention that I had in November when I launched the podcast. And so it's great to connect with you and to highlight you and to help the audience know more about you and hopefully inspire them if they have a talent or a yearning inside of them. And really, that's kind of what mine was. I mean, I didn't know how to do podcasting. I hired a podcast coach last July and said, I want to learn how to podcast. Can you help teach me how to create one? And so I did invest, in myself and in my vision. Yes. And it fast tracked me and helped me skip through a lot of the trial and error of stuff. And I felt like it was worth it, to do that.
It's gotten us here tonight, right?
Exactly. And I've created 3 other ones.
Good for you. Yes.
So just because I'm just talking about topics of my interest, like oneness.
And that's important though. I mean, I think when we do the things that are important to us and then learn how to, let's say, monetize our passion, then you live a fulfilled life.
Right.
And if you can really create an economy around doing the things you love, well, guess what you're going to do?
To be happy.
Yes. Do more.
That's the goal. We're all looking for our joy and our happiness.
And that's why I tell people, figure out what you really, really care about. And then, yes, learn what it takes to monetize your passion. And you'll live a fulfilled life. You'll never regret waking up. Yes, it's hard work. Yes, there's sacrifices that have to be made, but you do that anyway. You work hard for someone else. You make sacrifices to make somebody else's dream come true. So why not do that for yourself, but yet be fulfilled because it's your vision. It's your life. It's your passion. And so I applaud you for taking that step. And, I feel I'm living a very aligned life because I wouldn't be on your channel otherwise. And so I think this whole podcast tonight is a testament to your alignment and where you're going and how it helps me just speak to a broader audience of people to hopefully inspire them to choose their own passion. Yes.
You know what? It's a global audience because I had a lady in Poland who commented on my Instagram and said, I love what y'all are doing. And we DM'd back and forth. I'm like, where are you? She's like, I'm in Poland. And I'm like, that's so awesome that my message is getting to Poland while the Ukrainians were coming over the border to Poland, I'm helping them think about the concept of oneness,
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I want to share. I don't want to just like my closing comment.
Yes.
Today, a lady inboxed me and she was like, Reginald, you painted a mural 10 years ago, and my son was a child in that mural. And she's in Houston. She was in Houston having, meeting with family, and had asked me if I could meet her for breakfast. And I couldn't pivot that quickly. But here's somebody who was traveling from out of town, coming to Houston, and, wanted to just like say thank you for
connect.
Yeah, for doing what you do. And her son's now 14. He was 2 years old when I painted the mural. And so we never know who we're going to connect with. And thanks to technology, we can connect with the entire world. So thank you for, your vision. Thank you for your passion for creating this Oneness Junkies podcast, because it gives me a chance to connect with your audience. And I appreciate you for that.
Yeah. Well, when you have something you want to talk about, you're welcome to come back on anytime. While you were talking about, follow your passion and and it becomes your purpose. Like if you have a yearning for something, a lot of times it's because people are like, I don't know what my purpose is. And it's like, just follow your urges,
Sure.
Right? Whatever you're urging. So while you were talking, I was thinking the Oneness podcast is my purpose. The Avanti Wellness podcast is my practice. And the global travel junkie, where I highlight luxury travel destinations, is my pleasure.
Oh, there you go. And you can bring them all together.
I am, because I want to travel. Listen to this. My friend made up this term. I'm trying to create a nomadic luxury laptop lifestyle.
It's very possible because there are people living that life, Lydia. And I know that if that's what you want and you're willing to,
I'm creating it.
That's right. And you got to just keep taking one step at a time and learn and figure it out and bump your head and get back up and stay focused. And next thing you know, 5 years from now, you're going to laugh at this lifestyle that you're living because you didn't.
I created it.
Right. You didn't give up on your own dreams and aspirations. So yes.
If you really have to, and I wrote a post the other day, if you don't believe in yourself, then change something about yourself so that you can believe in yourself, because you're the only one who's really going to believe in yourself enough to make change happen anyway.
It's all right. It's all
it's our responsibility. So we hope to the audience to this evening or this day, whenever you're listening to this, we hope that we've been an inspiration. And Reginald, tell them your website one more time so they can connect with you and reach out.
Yes, you can visit me online at www.reginaldadams.com. and see, pretty much everything that I've discussed tonight, a taste of it. And I hope to see you at one of our events in the near future. And thank you once again, Lydia, for the platform to share a little bit of my work and my life journey with your audience.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for your wonderful message. Hang on there. I'm going to close this out.
Yes, my pleasure and purpose. Thank you.
Bye.
We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this inspirational journey, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. If you are a self-proclaimed oneness junkie, get yourself a t-shirt and spread the message of oneness in your community. And finally, if you have a story to share or know someone that should be a guest on this podcast, contact us at onenessjunkie.com. See you next time. And remember, when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Compassion starts with you and me.